Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in to another episode for notanalog.com. Today I'm looking at the latest, well the first, from Sony. We've seen phones from Sony Ericsson. This is the first one from Sony themselves, called the Xperia S. Now this phone, just to give you the specifications if you don't know already, weighs about 144 grams. It's not quite heavy, but it has got a nice large screen. It's a 4.3 inch screen with a 1280 by 720 pixel display. Really nice Bravia engine built in, which is the technology which you see built into the Sony TVs, so that the picture quality is just fantastic. To give you a rundown of the processor and stuff like that, 1.5 gigahertz dual core. It's not the quad core range that we've seen from, say, the HTC One X, but dual core, it still does run its applications quite well. 32 gig of storage built in. There is no expandable memory slot. It does, however, have a HDMI out, which we're not seeing on a lot of phones anymore, and it still carries with it, DLNA for wireless media sharing as well. So you can connect, or you can go wireless, which is really handy. Simple other things: it runs Android 2.3 Gingerbread, which is a little sad, but Ice Cream Sandwich, which is Android 4, is coming, Sony believes, in Q2, so it should be quite soon. And that will be upgradable for free, of course, and it will work. Other things: the camera on the back, 12.1 megapixels. Now, while we try not to get too stuck on numbers and things like that when it comes to cameras, Sony, and in the past Sony Ericsson phones, have always had really good cameras built in, and this one's no exception either. When I've taken photos with this, the clarity's been amazing, the quality of the picture comes out really good. Obviously 12.1 megapixels, yeah, you're going to get a large image and things like that, but the quality is what counts, and we've definitely noticed some great shots coming out of this. Same thing with video, it does 1080p video on the back. On the front, not to be left out, there is a camera on the front. The previous phones from Sony Ericsson, like the Xperia Arc and the Arc S, had no front-facing camera, which for me was really a letdown. There's so many people, like when I log onto Facebook, there's every second girl is doing shots like this, like stuff like that. Now, I don't do that, but I know that people do, and that's what the front-facing camera is for. It's also for video calling and things like that, but let's face it, the majority of people are using it to take portrait shots of themselves. And this one's a 1.3 megapixel camera, so it does take good front-facing shots. It also is capable of 720p video chat, so that's something to bear in mind too, that instead of just taking pictures of yourself before you go out, you can also use it to video call, and take video if you really want to, but anyway. Simple other things: Bluetooth built in. It's also got NFC built in. Now, one of the things which, we hear a lot about NFC, and it's coming, it's going to do all these amazing things, and people don't have a lot of faith in it. But what I'm going to show you is something really cool. I've got the phone turned on. NFC chip is enabled on the phone. Now, Sony give you these little tags. Now, these tags can be programmed to do whatever you like on the phone, so that when you tap the phone to it, it will perform commands. So you can get it to open browsers, play music. What I've set it up for is to turn on features and turn off features. So I've called this tag car, and I would ordinarily leave it in the car. Now when I get in the car and I tag it, it turns off my Wi-Fi, because I only use that when I'm really at home. It turns on my Bluetooth because I connect it to my car kit, and it puts my phone on loud because normally I have it on silent when I'm at home. So just to give you an idea of what happens here. So here's the tag here. I'm just going to tap it on the back. I felt it vibrate. Now I can see already it says car, Bluetooth on, and I can see it's actually activated here. It's still in vibrate. Now there it goes. It switches to normal mode. Now that's this very simple tag that I've set up there. And it's turned off the Wi-Fi hotspot, because sometimes I do that and leave it on. So this is a very simple thing, and you can get it to do anything. It ships with two others, so you could actually come home and have another tag so that it turns everything else back on again. I didn't program it, I was just playing around with the one. But you can do that, and it's so simple to do. You just tick boxes on what you want things to do, on or off, loud or quiet, and so on. You can get it to open browsers and all this stuff. So it's really quite cool, and it gives you an idea of what these chips are capable of now, and also later on in the future. So I think that's something to be considered. So looking at the display, it's the device itself. It's quite it's quite good looking. It's not a terribly ugly phone. It's got this beautiful clear piece at the bottom, which indicates the back, home, and options key on Android. However, when I first got the phone, I kept on pressing the clear part to do actions on the phone. Now, that's great, but that's not actually active. You can't, if you push these, it doesn't do anything. There's little tiny white dots just above it, and that's what indicates the actual button. So the the home button is here, and the back button and the option button is actually there. So I felt that was a little bit silly that when I press, just to give you a better example, that's the buttons here, and these clear ones don't do anything. It just sort of displays that symbol, which they could have just printed on the top and I would have just pressed there. So while it looks good, I wondered what it was for, because then you've got this piece at the bottom which doesn't look like it's connected to the phone itself, so it's not like it does anything. Well, it's got the microphone built into it, but that's really it. So I found that quite puzzling, that you've got this piece which looks really pretty, but that's literally all it does. That's weird. So that's that bit, which lights up as well, even in the dark. It lights up as like a white light. It looks good. And everyone I gave it to were pressing in those spots and they're like, it doesn't work. I said, well, it does, but it's just above it. No one gets that. I don't get it either. But then the other issue I'm going to point out is, during my use of the device, those capacitive buttons are a bit unresponsive. I seem to take a couple of taps every now and then, like to go back. I'm just going back, when I just want to go back one screen. So that part's a little odd. Just the bottom part of the phone. I don't know, something weird there. I think it was more art over, what's that? There's a phrase for this, like form over function, something like that. I think that's what they did incorrectly, something like that. Anyway, so at the top, power button, headphone jack, brilliant. Micro HDMI, volume rocker, camera button. I love the dedicated camera button. You don't see that enough, and it actually makes you feel like you're using a real camera again. And with the great photos that it does take, it's just brilliant. You can really do the point and click properly. Because the camera is so far at the top, I'm used to holding my cameras like this, and I get nothing on my photo. And I look at the screen and go, what the hell? And then I have to sort of move my finger. So I think that's just something you get used to, but something to point out, the camera is so high at the top that you kind of want to take photos this way. So that's interesting. Big speaker port on the back. It's actually really loud when you play music on this. It really rocks out. And it's got this sort of matte finish, which is good, because so many times you get these glossy phones, like even some manufacturers put glass on the back of their phone, which is just stupid. And they've also got the, for me, what is I calling the Xperia symbol. That's what we used to see on Sony Ericsson phones. So I'm sort of glad to see a bit of heritage still there. And a nice little Xperia at the bottom. You can also see the microphone. This bit. It's the pinky part of your phone at the bottom. And over here is your micro USB port for charging, transferring files, and things like that. Using the actual device has been good. I've enjoyed using it. Obviously, it's typical Android, everything that you're used to seeing. However, my battery experience has been quite poor. When I say poor, it's sort of becoming on par with a lot of other phones. I averaged around 11 hours, which is the same as I got out of the HTC One X. Now, while that remains competitive, to me it's still not good enough. 12 hours wouldn't be enough out of a phone. So that's a personal opinion, but I'm just letting you know that's the life that I got out of it through the way that I use the phone. Your experience might be different depending on your usage and so on, but on average, about 11 hours of battery life. Using the device itself, it's pretty much the same. One thing I'm not a huge fan of still is Timescape. I don't really use it. I still like to use my Twitter application separate, my Facebook application separate. Timescape kind of brings it all together, which is great for some people, but I like to track my conversations differently. Otherwise, you might be a huge Timescape fan and love it. That's cool. Other simple things on the phone itself. 3D camera. You can also take 3D panoramic images, which you can't view in 3D on here, but if you connect it to a 3D enabled TV, you'd be able to view those, which is really quite cool. And that's really the device itself. The video quality on this, which I took, was really good. The camera quality was really good. For me, the letdowns were mainly the battery life, and just this weird design at the bottom. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That's all. Overall, I don't mind it. It does feel good in the hand with the curved back. I'm not in love with the phone. I'm not in love with it, but I respect the phone. You know, I think it does deserve a place in the market. It will appeal a lot to some people, especially if you've already got, you know, your Sony tablet or a Sony TV and you want to just keep things the same. They've done some really innovative things. I think this design is really quite nice. Could be actually a bit more useful. I think the tag stuff is really smart, and I'm glad they actually give you something to play with as well. Yeah, it's just some weird things about the phone. But take a look. Go into your store and actually pick one up. You have to look at the screen because the screen is really impressive. When you look at it, it's just the colors really come at you. Take a look at it. Let me know what you think. You can buy one if you want, but it's not for me. It's not for me, this device. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, like I said, comment below, and we'll go from there. Thanks a lot, guys. Speak soon.